If you're watching this on Moodle or floated by on YouTube, a very warm welcome. My name is Rory Lees Oakes, and in this presentation we're going to look at Supervision 101, a student's guide to counselling supervision. So if you're a level 3 student doing a certificate in counselling skills, or maybe even a first year diploma student, this may be a useful presentation for you, just to gain some basic understanding of what supervision is and how the supervisory relationship works. Let's have a look at a definition of supervision, and it's by Inskip and Proctor. They describe supervision, and indeed a supervisor, as a working alliance between a supervisor and a counsellor, in which the counsellor can offer an account or recording of her or his work, reflect on it, receive feedback, and where appropriate, guidance. The object of this alliance is to enable the counsellor to gain in ethical competence, confidence, and creativity so as to give best possible service to her or his clients. So right at the beginning of this presentation, we're getting a definite idea that supervision is about supporting you to support your clients and help you grow as a practitioner, grow in confidence and gain creativity within the counselling room, to be creative in the way that you work with your clients. A supervisor should have a lot of practice experience. On the courses I teach, they're expected to have 400 hours of post-qualifying experience and have a supervision qualification as well as their counselling qualification. They should understand your modality of practice. So if you're a person-centred therapist, they should have a working understanding of the work of Carl Rogers. Ideally, they should practice in it. They might use that as part of their practice, but they should understand the modality. After all, if you're taking client work to your supervisor and asking them how it links to practice and they don't understand the model, that could be difficult. They should be qualified. I mentioned that earlier. They should be dual qualified. They should hold a counselling qualification and a supervision qualification from reputable training establishments. They should be the member of an ethical body, such as the BACP or the Counselling Society or the Psychological Association. There's a number of bodies that deal with counsellors and psychologists, ethical bodies, which provide a code of practice and, more important, a complaints procedure should a client have a complaint about a practitioner. They should also have regular supervision themselves. Anybody in the world of counselling or supervision or a supervisor would have regular supervision to ensure that they're offering the best possible service to their supervisees as well as to their clients. The supervisor should feel right for you. And just a word on this, quite a few new practitioners, new student counsellors, when they go to see the supervisor, sometimes can feel a bit overawed, a little bit uncomfortable. And occasionally students have said to me, I don't like that supervisor. And I've said to them, I think you should work that out. I think you should find out what it is that makes you uncomfortable about that supervisor. And also, why don't you ask them? Just say, I feel a little uncomfortable and I don't know what that's about. And it's very possible that the supervisor and yourself can work through that. I don't really think it's right in the world of counselling just to shy away from someone because you don't like them. I think you need to have a valid reason. And after all, counselling is a reflective occupation. We reflect on what we do. So what I'm going to look at now is a basic triangle of supervision. And I want you to think of this as a piece of green grass, triangular in shape, and we're looking down on it as if we're in a helicopter, looking out of the door of a helicopter. Now on this green piece of grass is going to be where the counsellor and the supervisor meet. Now, let me make myself clear. Supervisors and counsellors usually meet in a building, so this is a metaphor. I'm figuratively speaking here, just to give you a graphical idea of supervision. So the supervisor and the supervisee would meet here on this grass, and within this boundaried piece of grass, if you like, or this boundaried area, there would be 3 corners, and at each corner there would be a function of supervision. Now, the first function is education, and I'll put it up here. There we go. Now, supervisors are further down their road of practice than a student counsellor. As a consequence, they will have come across client presentations and understand how clients work with certain kinds of distress, and they can pass that information on to you. So there's a slight educative function within supervision. They're more experienced, they're passing their knowledge on to you. That doesn't mean that you can not do any reading or not do any CPD, but it means it's an extra form of support when you're stuck with a client, that the supervisor can use their knowledge and wisdom to help you gaining confidence. The second part of the triangle is managerial. A supervisor holds the balance of your practice. So as a supervisor, you're ethically responsible, or I would be ethically responsible for my supervisee. They disclosed something that was unethical and I didn't act on that, I could be held accountable for that by the ethical body. So there's a managerial aspect. It's usually things like issues of child protection, issues of the law. It could be if a supervisee isn't fit to practice for one reason or another. Part of that might be just gently suggesting to the supervisee that they get their own counselling. And the reason for that is sometimes client work can bring up old distress in ourselves, old issues, and sometimes that comes into supervision when we're talking about our clients, and the supervisor may very well say, have you ever thought of getting your own counselling? And they may strongly suggest it, which means they say you really should do that to protect both yourself and the client. Now in this corner, we have support. There are times as a counsellor where I have felt de-skilled, I have felt that I've not done the best for my client, and I go to supervision to gain some emotional support. Now this doesn't mean it's counselling as such, I'm not getting personal therapy, but I'm sharing my sadness, maybe my frustrations at working with a client and feeling I'm not getting it right or doing the best. And I'm going to use the term a shoulder to cry on. It's a figurative term, not a literal one, but sometimes supervision is about just helping a deflated and quite demotivated counsellor see the value of what they do and help with their self-confidence. Now the interesting thing about supervision is that, and certainly this grid, is that everything we do within this green triangle has ethics. So every area of supervision is always overviewed by ethics. And ethics are the thinking and guidance that our ethical bodies give us, codes of ethics. Now it's also possible that you might come in here to see a supervisor looking for education, but actually you may end up walking through the supervisory 1.5 hours to gain some kind of support. You may even go over here where there's a managerial issue, something that's some legislative issue that needs to be addressed. So as you can see, what you go for may actually not be what you end up getting. And it's a collaborative, cooperative relationship where you are at the centre of it for the benefit of your client. Before I go, I'll give you some food for thought. Supervisor and the supervisee contract. So like in counselling, your supervisor will ask you to abide by, maybe even sign a contract, which then asks you to do certain things. That'll be regular attendance. It might be regular attendance at a college if you're a student counsellor. It could be to ask you that they have to disclose money laundering, drug trafficking or acts of terrorism. So that's the same as a counselling contract. But you would be asked to sign a contract, or at least agree to a contract. Supervisors are ethically accountable for their supervisees. So as a supervisor, If your supervisee is doing something that is against the code of practice for counselling, and you know about it, and you collaborate with that, then you could get in trouble as well as a supervisor. So supervisors are ethically accountable for what they know, and this is the key thing here, what they know their supervisees are doing. Let's be clear about this. If someone goes away and does something that I don't know about as a supervisor and have no inkling at all, then I cannot be held responsible for that. But if a supervisee tells me something that is clearly unethical and I don't act on it, then I am ethically responsible should it ever come to any kind of hearing or professional conduct panel. The supervisor holds the ethical balance of the supervisee's practice. Now, this effectively means that the supervisor oversees your practice or the supervisee's practice, and if they believe that the supervisee isn't acting professionally or ethically, they have an ethical and moral duty to intervene and try to bring some resolution to that. So they hold the balance of your practice. And I feel, in terms of my supervision, that's quite reassuring, because I know that someone is looking out for me, looking out for not only myself, but also my clients, and that's important. If you want further information, if you're watching on Moodle, if you click the resource tab at the top, it'll take you onto other information. It may be that that's actually placed underneath this presentation in the Moodle site. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll place some links in the bottom bar just below this video that you can access to find out more about the world of supervision. And finally, as always, thank you for watching.